Hello and welcome to Leadership Conversations with Colin McDermott, the show that helps leaders to unlock their potential and navigate towards their goals. I'm your host, Colin McDermott, and my goal is to help you to recognize that you have everything that you need to be a leader. All you have to do is learn the tools that can help you to lead powerfully and raise your leadership bar. In each episode, we discuss some of the challenges of being a leader, as well as explore key leadership principles that'll help you to build your vision and work towards your goals. Before we get started, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to the channel, as we will be giving you the tools that you need to navigate your leadership journey. Hope you enjoy the conversation. Let's jump right in. I'm excited for this year because last year was intentional in building out our conversations to help you to wrap your minds around the fact that you are a leader. There are a lot of times that we've developed a belief system. We've developed an idea that leadership only looks a certain way. And because we think of leadership as looking just a certain way, we tend to feel that if we don't fall in that category, then we aren't qualified to be a leader. And so last year was intentional in helping us to kind of shift our belief systems, to help us to recognize that we are the leaders that God has created us to be, and we have the potential to do leadership things and visionary things and be able to take the dreams that we've been holding on to, that we've been keeping locked under lock and key, that we've been holding close to the vest, but afraid to launch out, afraid to start. Last year, I wanted to use that year as a year to encourage you to break the myths, to break that mindset and that belief system, because you have what it takes to be a leader. You have what it takes to launch your vision. You have what it takes to launch your business idea. You have what it takes to be great. And so if I can add value to you and help you to be great, then I know that I am doing my job and doing what God has called me to do. And so I want to encourage you that in this year, go after what you want. Go after your dreams. Go after your goals. Go after your vision. Start building it. Take that step, because I am a witness that when you take that step, you can see what it can grow into. And this is just the beginning. After 1 year of doing this, this is just the beginning, and it's only going to continue to grow, and it's only going to continue to get better, bigger, and better. And so do what scares you. Do it, and do it with your whole heart, with your whole passion. And so that's my little spiel. As we're about to get started, I'm about to kick this thing off, please share, tag somebody so that they can be able to get a hold of this video, so that they can be able to get a hold of this audio, so that they can be able to take the necessary steps to kick off 2022 in the right way. It's a brand new year, and we're in the prime time to set our goals. We're in prime time to set our vision cast our vision for this coming year. And we have the capabilities, we have the tools that we need. And so one of the things that I want to do this year, as I said, use last year to focus on breaking certain mindsets, to shift in our beliefs, to understand that we are leaders and that we have the capabilities of leading. And so this year, I want us to start building it out. I want us to start learning about and focusing on our own leadership styles. I want to help you to discover what your leadership styles are. I want to help you to learn the leadership principles that can help you build your vision and help you to work towards your goals. And so this year, I'm excited because I'm going to be inviting guests. I'm going to be inviting leaders to come on, and they're going to share some stories and some of the things that they've experienced on their own leadership journeys, and some of the things that they learned along the way. And the hope is that in doing that, we'll be able to inspire you, help you to realize that everyone has to start somewhere. And so when we get different leaders in different industries that have different perspectives, that have taken their own personal journeys into growing in their leadership capacity, right? Hopefully it will inspire you to move forward on your own leadership journey. Thing about this thing called life is that it's a journey, and we have to be able to learn how to navigate through it. And when God gives us a vision, God gives us a dream, God gives us a purpose, we have to be able to navigate that vision and navigate that journey to get to the place that we need to go. And so with that being said, I want to jump right into our conversation for today. I want to talk about motivation. Because when you think about the new year, right? It's the first of the month. It's January, the first month of a new year. And this is the time where people start to set their goals for the year. And it's a time where people start to set New Year's resolutions, and they start to make promises that they're going to actually do what they said they're going to do, right? And you see it in even in advertising, you see it in marketing, you see it in on social media, right? You see different advertisements for different things, because the people know that January is the prime year where people start to set their goals and people start to feel motivated. And rightfully so, right? When you hit a new calendar year, you start to feel like it's an opportunity to reset, right? It's a brand new year, the first of the month, and it's an opportunity to reset. Opportunity to get focused, opportunity to set goals so that you can be able to set a pattern or a trajectory for that year. And so when you see it, a lot of people in the beginning of the year, they have all these grand ideas. They're super motivated, they're super energized, and they're super excited about their ideas and their goals, right? This is the time where people start to set their New Year's resolutions. Right? They set their New Year's resolutions, and funny enough is that they set their New Year's resolutions, and usually it's the same goal, the same goals, the same New Year's resolutions that they've been having for the past 10 years. And every year they make the same New Year's resolution. They make the same promise that they're going to actually do it. This year I'm going to do it. This year's my year. This year I'm going to get in the gym. This year I'm going to lose weight. This year I'm going to change my life. You see people, they set these great expectations for the new year that, listen, this is my year. Knowing that it's been your year for the last 10 years. The same thing that you said that you were going to do last year and the year before and the year before that and the year before that and the year before that. It's the same goals, but for some reason you feel like at the beginning of the year, man, this is it. Now I'm on it this year. I'm really going to do it. And so when you think about it, I looked it up, and the 10 most common New Year's resolutions that people set for themselves is 1, to exercise more, 2, to lose weight, 3, to get organized, 4, to learn a new skill, 5, to live life to the fullest, 6, to save money, 7, to quit smoking, 8, to spend more time with family and friends, 9, to travel more, and 10, to read more. How many of us have fallen into those categories where we have set our New Year's resolution for one or multiple of these 10 top common New Year's resolutions? Exercise, lose weight, get organized, learn a new skill. I'm not going to lie. I've been trying to learn Italian for the last 10 years. I've been trying to learn Italian for the last 10 years because I keep saying I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to learn a new language. And here we are 10 years later, and I still have not learned Italian. How many of us have fallen into those common New Year's resolutions? And how many of us have actually stuck with them? How many of us actually said, I'm going to do this thing in the beginning of the year and actually stuck with it? Chances are most of us have not. Chances are we were passionate and excited about doing it, right? and motivation is high, our energy level is high, our focus level is high, right? You downloaded all the apps, right? You bought the programs because January is the time where all of the workout programs, all of the weight loss programs, all the gym memberships are sold at a discounted price, right? So you bought those programs, you downloaded the apps, right? But the only time that you've actually opened those apps is the one time you went to sign up for it. That's because we're excited and we're highly motivated and we're super focused in January. But somewhere down the line, usually about mid-February, beginning of March, we kind of just lose that motivation, right? So here's how it works. January, we're excited, we're motivated. We do it for like a week or two. Then February, we start to slack off. We say, you know what, I'll hit the gym tomorrow. We say, you know what, I'll study this tomorrow. You know what, I'll read this book tomorrow. And then by March, we've completely forgotten about it, or we've completely given up on it. And then we spend from March till about December pretty much regretting the fact that we didn't actually get started. And so we spend those remainder 9 months just kind of feeling guilty about ourselves. We start to feel guilty because, man, I said that this was what I was going to do and I didn't do it. So my question to you today is, why is that? Why do we start off with great motivation and lose it after a while? Why do we start it and then lose it after a while? Why is it that we have that for some reason in the beginning of the year, we have this great expectation of ourselves and things that we want to accomplish? And it's not like it's not true, because these are things that we want to do, right? These are things that we want to do. We want to accomplish. Listen, if I could become fluent in Italian, man, I'm living the life. To go into a restaurant and go to an Italian restaurant and look at the menu and understand what it says, and to be able to have a conversation with the waiter and to be able to talk and speak Italian the way as if I was born there. Man, if I could become fluent in Italian, then hey, I'm good to go. Right? But why do we start, or why do we have these start off with great motivation, but somewhere down the line lose it? Right? If we all kept our motivation, we would all be skinny. We would all be rich. We would all be happy. We would all be accomplished. We all would be all the things that we want in the world. And the thing is that it's not that we don't want to do it, but motivation gives us this surge of energy to keep us going. And so I felt that it was important to talk about it to start off, because what I want us to do in this year is, when we establish our goals and we establish our plans and we step into our leadership roles and we do, like I said, visionary things, when we make these plans, we have to learn to maneuver and navigate and function at high levels without losing that motivation, right? Without losing that energy. Because motivation, it's helpful because it gives you the energy to perform at a high level, right? It gives you that boost of energy where you're just motivated, and you're driven, and you're ready to go. You have this high surge of energy that's going to allow you to perform and operate at a high level. But what's important for us to understand is that motivation has its limitations, right? Why is that? Because for the most part, right, it's driven by emotions. And because of the fact that our emotional states change, and they change like the weather. They change like the weather. You can be good today, you can be up today, you can be down tomorrow. You can be up in the morning, and in the afternoon you're down, and in the evening you're up again. So our emotional state changes. And so it's hard to maintain and it's hard to sustain over a long period of time. And so what happens is that we get motivation and we have this boost of energy, but we miss the window. We miss the window to operate at a high level. And ultimately, when we lose that motivation, we don't actually go out and do what we said we were going to do. So that's part of the reason as to why we lose motivation, because of the fact that it requires high emotional state that's hard to sustain over a long period of time. We lose it after a while, and then we get to that place where we don't have that energy. Now we get to a place where we're so caught up in everything that's going on in life that we forget the things that, we don't have, not forget, let me not say that. We don't have the passion. We don't have that drive to do the things that we want to do, because we all have things that we want to do. There are a lot of things that are undone, a lot of ideas that aren't fulfilled. And a lot of times the problem is our fight for the attention of time. Every day, from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, there are different things fighting for your time and fighting for your attention. And we covered a lot of that stuff towards the end of last year as we discussed the voices in our head, right? Different things fighting for our attention, fighting for our time. And those things can drain your emotion, drain you emotionally. So my question is, how do we maintain? How do we continue to pursue or continue to go after or continue to build our dreams or our goals or our ideas when motivation is hard to sustain? One of the things that we have to realize is that when we talk about motivation, one of the important aspects of motivation is that it provides you a window that you have to jump in. See, when you feel motivated, you have this high energy level where you feel like you can take on the world. And if you don't take advantage of that window of opportunity, if you don't, as they say, seize the moment, then you are going to put yourself in a position where you're going to be dragging, right? Excuse me. And so one of the most important things that we have to do, especially as visionaries and especially as leaders, is that we have to find ways to capitalize on the windows of motivation that become Pastor Lambert, I'm gonna get there. Don't worry. we don't capitalize on the windows of opportunity that come into play. We don't capitalize on that, and as leaders, we have to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. And then, when we take advantage of those opportunities, start to translate it into a habit. So, when the window of opportunity comes, you feel this motivation in you, this surge of energy. You jump through it. Right? You fan it into a flame and you start to build on it until it becomes a habit. Right? You talk about athletes. Athletes are so interesting because on a professional level, athletes are able to be successful not because of motivation, but motivation to push them to build the necessary skills that eventually become habits. So you get that window of opportunity, you jump in it, you build on it, and then you keep building at it until it becomes a habit. So this is the process that it takes. Now, important that as leaders that we put ourselves in positions where we develop habits that allow us to function at a high level regardless of how we feel. Because you will have the days, and I say this all the time, you will have the days where you just don't feel like doing anything, right? It's that Bruno Mars song is playing in our heads. Today, I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to lay in my bed, right? That Bruno Mars song plays, right? And don't feel like picking up the phone. Just leave a message at the tone, right? We get that Bruno Mars feeling where we don't feel like doing anything. But what happens is when we develop the necessary habits, then even in those days where you don't feel like it, athletes, even on the days when they don't feel like it, because of the fact that they have developed those habits, because they've translated that energy that came from motivation into building a habit, they're able to function at high levels regardless of how they feel emotionally. And I hope that makes sense, because energy, it's important that when we get this energy that we learn how to redirect it and direct it in the right way so that we can be able to maintain where we are. One of the things that's important is that when you talk about motivation, it gives you this surge of energy, right? And it's about how do I, even though I don't have this, taking this big boost of energy, taking that and dispersing it in small amounts. Does that make sense? You get this surge of energy, this big ball of energy, right? And instead of going 1,000 miles and burning all out because the motivation is there, you capture it and then you start to disperse it in small amounts. So today, I'm motivated to write. I want to write a bestseller, and I have this high energy to write a best-selling novel, to write a best-selling book. Instead of taking all that energy and dispersing it and, I got to write in one shot, it's about, all right, how do I take it and I write a little bit a day. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here. On days when I feel real high, I bang out an hour. And then on days when I feel low, even though I don't feel it emotionally, I'm still going to just write for 5 minutes. So taking that energy and strategically dispersing it at key times so that you start to build the habits that you need. Now, Pastor Lambert, she asked me that she jumped there before me, but she wants there's a difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation, right? Now, intrinsic motivation is internal motivation. What internally motivates you, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit more. But then there's the extrinsic motivation. So the external factors that motivate you, like money. Money is an external motivator because of the fact that you're trying to obtain a certain status, right? Now, what makes external motivations dangerous is that they last. They don't last as long as internal motivations. During the Christmas break, I've been reading a book by John Maxwell called The Leader's Greatest Return. And he has a chapter talk about motivating leaders. And in reading this chapter, it's kind of what sparked my idea and my process about doing today's conversation about motivation, because he talks about motivation and he references a book by Daniel Pink called Drive. And in Daniel Pink's book, Drive, he talks about 7 flaws of external motivation. There are 7 flaws of external motivation. Now, backstory is that they did a experiment with monkeys and trying to see what motivates monkeys to do a certain task, and they found that the monkeys were more driven by internal motivations of getting the job done versus the external motivations, right? So Daniel Pink, he names 7 deadly flaws of external motivation. Number 1, external motivations can extinguish internal motivation. Number 2, it can diminish performance. Number 3, it can crush creativity. Number 4, it can crowd out good behavior. Now, let me go through all of them first. Number 5, external motivations can encourage cheating, shortcuts, and unethical behaviors. Number 6, external motivations can become addictive. Number 7, they can foster short-term thinking. Now, let's use the example of money, right? I mentioned that money is an external motivator. When you look at those who are in certain positions financially, right? When someone is driven by money, they start to find shortcuts on how to do things, right? They start to develop unethical behaviors. We see all of the examples of corporate leaders who have been exposed for embezzling money or taking advantage of the financial status, right? When you are only motivated by external factors, you have nothing internally that drives you, and you're never satisfied. You know why they say that money can't buy happiness? Because of the fact that you can only find happiness when you find what motivates you internally, right? Money is something that you can obtain, but usually people that have money, unless they feel a sense of accomplishing their purpose, they feel empty. And so you never want to be in a position where you're motivated by money or financial status or social status or job opportunities or fame, right? You look at social media today. Social media today, you see so many people who post everything about their lives, yet they're still not happy. They can have 1 million followers and then they're still not happy. They live for the attention, right? And when they don't get the attention, they feel empty. They feel lost. They don't know who they are, right? A lot of people, they have identity crisis because of the fact that they haven't found what is it that really drives me? What is it that really motivates me? What is it that keeps me going? That makes me get up in the morning? When you have external motivations, when you accomplish a certain level, eventually you don't know what to do anymore. It's not important anymore. So those are the flaws and the dangers of external and extrinsic motivations, right? Now, when we talk about how do we stay motivated, clearly we gotta stay away from the external motivations. That's clear, right? That's number one. Another way that we can stay motivated is to discover what motivates us. And this is where the intrinsic motivations come in. This is where the internal motivations kick in, because when you are driven by when you discover what your internal motivation is and you lock onto that, then it becomes a reservoir that you can tap into on days when you feel low energy. See, when you have internal motivations, or when you are able to identify and discover and identify your internal motivations, now you have something to tap into when you need extra strength. And I want us to understand that, because you have to find purpose in what you do. You have to find a reason to do what you do, or else you're never going to do what you need to do. Right? And so when we talk about internal motivations, I want to name 7. These are, again, this is in reference to the Leader's Greatest Return by John Maxwell. Like I said, this is what inspired me to have this conversation today. Right? We have to discover what our internal motivations are. And of course, there are many more, but I want to name 7 of them so that we can kind of get an idea. And as I name the 7 and explain them, I want you to really reflect and think about which one of these things stick out to you. Which one of these things can you identify with? And whichever one you can identify with, go ahead and put it in the chat. Right? As a matter of fact, let's do this. We're going to do a little leadership exercise today. And so for each one that I name, I want you to put a number in the chat. So when I go through the first one, I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And so as I name each one, I want you to put that number in the chat to show which number, where your rating falls under on those levels. Does that make sense? All right. So when we talk about seven internal motivations of leaders, right? The first one, and usually the strongest one, is purpose. See, leaders want to be able to do what they were created to do. And so one of the strongest motivator that we can have is a sense of purpose. We always talk about, you hear the line that says the 2 most important days in a person's life is the day that they were born and the day that they discover why they were born. Right? And so when you discover your purpose, it becomes a motivator. It keeps you going. It keeps you driving, because regardless of how you feel, you know that this is what I was created on this earth to do. Right? When you figure out what your purpose is, listen, if nobody supports you, if nobody shows up, if no one congratulates you or compliments you, you're still going to do it. Because internally, this is what I was put on this earth to do, and this is what I got to go with. Right? So purpose is the number one, is the strongest motivator that we can have. And so when you discover why you're alive, what your purpose is, why God puts you on this earth, when you're able to discover what that is, nothing else matters. No one else matters. People can talk bad about you. People can appreciate you. It doesn't mean no, never mind. It don't matter, because this is what I was created to do, and this is what I have to go after. Even when people try to discourage you, even when people try to dissuade you, even when people try to make you feel afraid, even when you feel afraid to do it, you know that there's something about this thing that, even though I'm scared, my purpose is stronger than my fears. And so the first one is purpose, right? When you discover your purpose. The second one that is an internal motivator is autonomy. The freedom to make your own decisions, right? Whenever we're in a situation where we don't have the freedom to make we use motivation. Right? When you have a job, when you're working at a job and you're limited to only doing, you start to hate your job. You start to hate your job, right? Because you don't feel a sense of control. You don't feel a sense of freedom. right? So you want to be able to have the freedom to make your own decisions. You want to have the freedom to share your own opinions, to share your thoughts, to give your expertise, to find ways to find ways to own your own productivity. And then you want to feel valued for it, right? No one wants to be in a place where they don't feel valued. No one wants to be in a place where they're not appreciated. And when you have that autonomy and that freedom to be who you are and be appreciated and be valued for who you are, highly motivational. It'll keep you motivated because you know that the people that you're around, the things that you're doing are things that you want to do. And most of the times it aligns with your purpose, right? So we have purpose, we have autonomy. The third important motivator is relationships. As people, as leaders, we have a desire we're social beings, right? Principle of creation is that God said it's not good that man should be alone. And so we as people, we need relationships. And when you work with people that you have strong relationships, strong positive relationships, it keeps you motivated. Right? There's a difference between when you are working with teammates and coworkers that you like, and there's a difference when you're working with teammates and coworkers and managers that you can't stand. When you are working with people that you get along with, that you have a strong rapport with, you have a strong relationship with, you don't even notice the time, right? You get into a rhythm, everyone is working together, you get into a flow, and you don't even notice that time is passing. But when you work with people that you have negative relationships with, it drags. Oh my gosh, it'll drag. It feels like it's the longest day ever. At my old job, when we had a manager that we couldn't stand, the best days that we had were the days when she wasn't in the office. The best days were the days where it was just the staff and we were working together because we all got along with each other. But when that manager was in the office, forget it. It was a long day. It was a long and stressful day. So when you have people that you have strong relationships with, that you work with, it motivates you because now you want to go to work. Now you want to be around these people. Now you want to do what you need to do. And so relationships are important, right? The people, when you enjoy working with the people that you are around, it increases the chances of you accomplishing more and being more successful. So we have purpose, we have autonomy, we have relationships. The fourth motivator is progress. Leaders want to experience personal and professional growth. When you are in a place, when you are working on your vision, when you're working on a goal, when you're working on a project that is making progress, it motivates you because you're starting to see a change. You're starting to see things get done. And one of the things about visionaries and builders is that you need progress, right? You become discouraged when you're working on something for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. You're working on a project and it seems like you have not moved forward. It just feels like you take one step forward, 2 steps back. Right? When you're in those positions where you feel like you're not making any kind of progress, it discourages you, it dissuades you, and you don't want to do it. And so we want to experience growth. We want to experience progress. We want to see results, right? You want to see growth. That because it's an indicator that what you're doing is working. right? It's the ultimate indicator, ultimate sign that this thing that I'm working on is going in the right track, because it's being built, it's growing. I'm seeing things. When I look back on where I am today and where I was 4 months ago, 6 months ago, last year, I know that I'm doing the right thing. So you wanna experience progress. The next level of motivation is mastery. You want to be able to master and excel at what you do, especially when you have a vision, when you have a dream, and you have a goal. You want to master what you're doing, because when you develop mastery, it's a sign of growth, right? It's a sign of progress. It's a sign of consistency. Right? It's a sign of striving for better, right? And so many of us are driven by mastery. I just want to be able to master this thing. And side note, as spiritual people, right? One of the challenges that we face, one of the struggles that we face, is that when we feel like we finally mastered a certain level, then God throws us into a whole nother thing where we have to start over. Right? We always say, God, I want to go deeper in you. God, I want to get higher in you. God, I want to go to another level. I want to go to another dimension. Be careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for, because you wanting to go to another level, you wanting to go to another dimension, means that you have to master a whole new level of things. And so we want to master the place that we're at. We want to master where we're at. And then when we finally feel like we got a footing, we got an understanding of where we are, God pushes us into something completely new, where it's like, all right, master this now. And it's like, but hold on, God, I wasn't ready yet. Wait, can I just go back to where I was, because I was good there? I understood the assignment there. I understood what I was supposed to do there. And so, God, just let me, can I just go back there just for a little bit? Can you give a brother a warning? Can you give a sign? Can you let me know before you just throw me into this? Right? You feel like you finally can swim in this place, and then here he goes, he throws you into deeper waters. And then now you have to relearn how to swim, and you have to learn to master on that level. And that's one of the things that come along with growth and progress and being a leader, is that as a leader, you're constantly being thrown into new territories, new waters. And so we have to learn to fall in love with that. If we really want to be able to excel to where God wants us to go, if we want to be able to if we want to be able to really live out our potential, we have to learn to fall in love with the motivation of mastery. Does that make sense? We have to learn to fall in love with learning all over again, because it puts us in a position where we grow. It puts us in a position where we get back into that place of redevelopment. We get into that place of really learning and understanding. And so you have to love that stage of that process of mastery, right? It's like when you're going to school, right? You started off in kindergarten, and when you finally feel like you've mastered the kindergarten things, then you have to move to first grade, and you have to learn first grade things all the way up to high school, and then all the way up to college, right? we have to learn to fall in love with the learning process, because it's in that learning process, is in that pursuit of mastery, that we really begin to maximize our potential. And so I wanted to give us that little nugget, because every opportunity gives us an opportunity to work gives us an opportunity to grow, and it gives us an opportunity to perfect our craft. And one of the things that we don't put enough emphasis on, especially as believers, is perfecting our craft, right? And perfecting our craft is more than just developing our skill, right? Perfecting our craft or mastery rather, is learning to perfect your craft and your skill, but still learning how to maximize the time and utilize everything that God has given you at that time, right? A lot of Christians are lazy. A lot of Christians are lazy because they expect the anointing to show up and do everything for them. But the anointing comes to enhance what is there. And so when you get to that place of learning to perfect your craft, when the anointing shows up, then you fully maximize that opportunity. But we slack, and we have this notion that when the anointing will show up, right? And when the anointing shows up, then I'm good, and God will have his way. And if God doesn't move a certain way, then it's because that's not what God wanted to do. But that is not truth. That is not truth. When you learn to master the craft that God has given you, when God shows up, you start to see exponential growth. Right? You start to see the maximization of an opportunity for the Spirit of God to flow. Right? So whatever your craft is, whatever your ability is, myself as a musician and as a keyboard player, right? If I didn't practice, if I didn't learn and grow and develop my musical ability, and I only depended on the anointing to show up, I wouldn't be able to have the effect that my God-given talent was ordained to have, because of the fact that I have not fully invested myself in building that talent, in building that skill. On the flip side of that, you have people who focus too much on the talent, too much on the skill, and too much on the craft, that they leave the anointing out of it. And again, in order to really become a master in what God has called you to do, in order to develop mastery, you have to be able to learn how to perfect your craft, as well as tap into the anointing at its fullest potential. It's important that we understand that, because like I said, too many believers are lazy and they don't take the time to build the thing that God has given them. Right? The parable of the talents. Right? There's a reason why the one with the 5 talents, when he got 5 more talents, he was given a greater responsibility, because of the fact that he took what God gave him and he optimized it so that God can be able to trust him. What is the gift that God has given you, or the ability that God has given you that you have not taken the time to invest in learning? What is it that God has given you that you haven't taken the time to invest yourself and your energy into growing in that space? Because you put yourself in a position where you're not operating in proper stewardship. And how can God give you a greater responsibility if you haven't learned to master this? There was a little bit of tangent and a little bit of soapbox, but it's something that I've always noticed, and I believe it's important that we deal with, because a lot of us were not living to the fullness of what God has called us to live to. We're not doing everything that God has called us to do because of the fact that we're not putting in the time to work on what God has entrusted us with. I was listening to Les Brown, and he was saying something that was so profound. And he said that your gift is a gift. It doesn't belong to you. It's a gift that God trusted you with. And when you recognize that it is something that God has entrusted you with, you will take care of it properly. You will nurture it properly. You will build on that thing because you find it to be as precious of a gift as God sees it, as God has. It's a gift, but it belongs to God. And so when we learn to develop a level of mastery, both naturally and spiritually, right? Even financially, even mentally, even emotionally, when we learn to take all of the tools, all of the knowledge, all of the information that we get, then we are able to develop a level of mastery that will optimize opportunities that God gives us to reveal him to the world. What I admire about Jesus, and I'm going to get off of this. What I admire about Jesus is that Jesus took time. He prayed. He studied, right? He knew he was the Son of God, but he didn't just go off of that. He took the time to grow in stature, grow in favor with God and with man. He took the time to learn what he needed to learn and learn about his relationship with the Father, so that every time he preached, right, every time he talked, you knew who he was, right? He said to his disciples that when you see me, you see the Father. Why? Because of the fact that he took the time and the effort into developing the things that God has given him, so that every time he functioned, every time he did a miracle, every time he did a sign or a wonder, every time he utilized his gift, it wasn't to glorify, it didn't glorify him, but it revealed more of the Father. And so we as people of God, when we are given these gifts and these talents and these abilities, that it is opportunities for us to show the world the Father. I hope that makes sense. And so mastery is important for us as believers, because the more that you grow and the more that you strive for excellence and the more that you build on what God has given you, every time you function, you reveal the Father. You reveal who God is. And so I'm going to leave that with you, that number 5 is mastery. So we have purpose as the number 1 motivator, autonomy, we have relationships, we have progress, we have mastery. Now the 6th one, recognition, right? We want to be appreciated for our compliments, right? So it may not be as high up for some people as purpose, but the truth of the matter is we all want to be recognized and not praised necessarily to an extent where our heads blow up, but you want people to appreciate what you're doing, right? If I am working to add value to you, if I am using my skill and ability to help build something or to accomplish something, you want to be recognized. You want to know that people appreciate your efforts and your energy, right? And when you are in a position or in a place where you're not recognized or you're not appreciated for what you do, you will leave. Right? Many people have quit jobs because of the fact that their managers don't appreciate them or don't recognize their efforts. don't recognize the energy that they put into helping the organization. And so we want to be recognized. Like, again, we don't want to be in a place where our heads get blown up, where right? It's not a pride thing, but you want to receive some level of appreciation. And that's why it's important that we recognize and appreciate one another. Because you don't know what someone has to go through in their personal lives to get to the place where they are, that they can be able to accomplish what they accomplish or do what they do, right? In church, we don't know the person who's leading praise and worship, the person who's preaching, the person who is ushering, right? The musicians, the teacher, the Sunday school teachers. You don't know what kind of week that they've had to be able to come up and do what they do, right? And so it's important that we recognize one another and we appreciate one another for the gift that we are, and for our ability to overcome so that we can add value. And so, as Pastor Lambert says, it sweetens the labor. When you are able to recognize and appreciate others, it'll motivate them because now they feel like they're valued. And we want everyone to feel like they're valued. And so that's number 6. Number 7, and I see Prophet Zahima, thank you for joining. She asked to rename the 6 points. So the first one is purpose. Second one is autonomy. The third one is relationships, right? So purpose, we want to be able to do what we were created to do. Autonomy, we want to have the freedom to do what we were created to do. Relationships, we want to have strong positive relationships with those that we work with. Number 4, progress. We want to be able to see and experience progress that we're making. Number 5, we want to be able to experience mastery, motivated by mastery to be able to excel at what we do. Number 6 is recognition. You want to be appreciated for what you do. And then, of course, number 7 is money, right? Now, money can be an internal motivator, right? Money can be an internal motivator, and it can be a strong internal motivator, but not for the reason of status. Most people, money is their motivation because they want to experience a level of financial freedom. They want to be able to buy the cars. They want to be able to buy the house, buy the jewelry, buy what they want, right? And so that's how it can be an external motivator. But money can be an internal motivator when you focus not on what you can get, but on what you can give. For years now, I've been studying wealthy people. I've been studying the lives and habits of millionaires and billionaires and successful people. And one thing that they've all shared is that when they reach a certain level financially, they no longer are focused on what money can do for them. They're focused on giving. Right? And so when you reach a level of accomplishing your financial goals, when you are able to turn that focus or that motivation on not on you, but on how you can help others, how you can give, then it becomes more of an internal motivation. Because now how can I help build my community? What can I give? What can I sow to help build this ministry, to build my church, to build our church? What can I do to help build the community center? How many of us we've been in that place where we just wish we could have the finances to be able to help others? Right? We have family members that we wish we could buy a home for them, to take them out of the projects, to take them out of the hood. We wish that we could have the money to build and fund the community center. We wish that we had the finances to be able to fund the vision of the soup kitchen, to help the home, help build the shelter for those that are in need. See, when your desire for money is focused more on giving more than receiving, then it can be a great motivator. And so these are just a few motivators that we can develop, right? Purpose, autonomy, relationships, progress, mastery, recognition, and money. And not just having money, but giving. These are just 7 motivators that we can identify with. And so what are the motivators that motivate you? What are the things that drive you? Because when you are able to discover that and lock in, like I said, instead of it just being a burst of energy that gets expelled in one shot, it gives you a reservoir of energy that you can tap into so that you can eventually build habits, right? You can build the necessary habits to accomplish your dreams, to accomplish your goals, to accomplish your vision, right? And so I want you to think about that this week. Out of these 7 motivators, what is the motivator that drives you? And when you are able to lock into that motivation, now how can I repurpose and redirect that energy so that I don't lose it? So that I can be able to sustain it over a long period of time. I want you to think about that because it'll be key in keeping you progressing and keeping you moving towards your goals for the entire year. Like I said, I wanted to address this at the beginning of the year because a lot of people lose that motivation after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months. But if we can lock in on that and now ask God for the wisdom to be able to tap into that reservoir so that we can be able to sustain it. Right? Because anything that you're building, any vision that you're building, any dream that you're building, any goal that you're building, it's a marathon and it takes time. You can never accomplish it in a sprint. It's something that progresses over time, right? Anything that you want to last takes time to build. And so when you're able to discover what motivates you, and you're able to recognize how to use that energy and use that motivator, you will put yourself in the position where you can pace yourself. And granted, that pacing yourself is a lot slower. And it feels in the moment like you're not going anywhere. But rather than focusing on how fast you can get to where you want to go, let's focus on how long you can go, how far you can go. Let's focus on how can I do this thing consistently? How can I maintain consistency over time and build something that's going to outlive me? I know that God called me for this purpose. God called me for this reason. How can I use that to keep me consistent so that I'm not putting all my energy into one thing? I'm not putting all of my energy into doing this one thing one time, and then now I'm not motivated to do anything else. We want to be able to function consistently at a high level. And it's when we're able to discover what motivates us and utilize that motivation, then you can be able to really build something that's going to be sustainable. And so I want to leave you all with that for today. Like I said, this year is going to be a year where we're really going to dig into learning about learning about our leadership styles, learning about what helps leaders to progress and to produce results. And it starts off with this. And so think about that this week. Think about what your motivations are. Think about, like I said, even if you weren't able to do it in the chat, take a moment and just sit, write those things down, put it in your phone, and take the time to number each one. And the ones that are the highest, are the ones that you should focus on. If purpose is your highest thing, like I said, you put a number from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and whatever your 5s are, let's focus on those things. Now, for my overachievers, you know who you are. Because there are some of us who are overachievers and who have 5s and 4s in almost every category. For those leaders, for those overachievers that have those high grades in those categories, take time to focus on each one. Take a month and tackle each one. Take a month to focus on your purpose. Take another month to focus on how do I build autonomy. Take another month and focus on how do I build on my relationships, right? Take another month and focus on how I can build progress in what I'm doing. And so take time to build out each one of those. And then once you've accomplished all 7, right? Start over and reevaluate and see where they fall now, and then start to build on those. And so it's utilizing these strategies that are going to really help us to have have impact and to be able to be consistent and be able to stay motivated. Because ultimately, we want to be able to stay motivated as we pursue our purpose, as we pursue our goals and the visions that God has given us. And so focus on that and allow that to keep you going for the rest of this year. So whatever it is whatever idea that you have, whatever business idea that you have, let's start building on our motivations and start working towards them and watch as it grows. Thank you for joining us for this leadership conversations. Hope you were able to get something from it, something that you can be able to apply to your everyday life and your own leadership journey. If you want to learn more about how to grow as a leader and how to navigate your own vision, feel free to hit the subscribe button as well as check out some of our other videos. Now, if you're ready to start your own leadership journey and start navigating your own goals, visit the website KeenVisionLeadership.com and learn how we can help. Again, thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you in our next conversation. Until then, God bless.